So I'm looking at them and I'm trying to figure out how exactly this goes, and I realize something now. Because the Emperor represents Aries, but it's number 4. All right, and it goes Emperor Aries 4, Hierophant 5, Taurus, right? The Lovers is number 6, which is Gemini. And then the Chariot 7, Cancer. Strength is Leo, and the Hermit card is Virgo. And then there's a stop in the pattern because we encounter the wheel, and the wheel represents Jupiter, okay, and it's number 10. So we hit the wheel, and then we go to Justice, which is number 11, and that is Libra. So then we hit another non-zodiacal association, which I had was always taught that the Hanged Man, number 12, is Pisces, but according to my research here, it actually represents water. Okay, so now we've hit water, and then from there we go to Death, number 13, which is Scorpio, then to Temperance, number 14, Sagittarius. The Devil, number 15, is Capricorn. And then we hit the Tower, which again is another non-zodiacal. We encounter Mars. And then the Star follows the Tower, number 17. The Star is Aquarius. Then the Moon, number 18, is what has been assigned to Pisces. And then we come back to the Sun, number 19. Then Judgment, which is fire. And the last card being the World, which is Saturn and Earth. So this becomes very interesting. Now, what about the first 4 cards that weren't mentioned? The Fool represents air. The Magician is Mercury. The High Priestess represents the Moon, and the Empress is Venus. So now we have every element represented, every zodiac sign on the wheel represented, the major planets known to the time. So Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are excluded from this wheel because this was when Saturn was as far as the eye could see. And so we take these things, when we hit Saturn, we come back to Earth, right? Saturn has a huge effect on Earth. And it's the father sign, it's Chronos, it's father time, so it's all of those things, which is interesting because we also associate all of those attributes to other areas in here. And it just makes me feel weird about the Devil being Capricorn, which is actually a feminine earth sign, and they've reassigned it in this sense to Cernunnos, or the horned god, which is in the time of Capricorn. He is featured, that's his season, right? And so like these types of things have many layers to them, and that's just the major arcana. When we start breaking down the minor arcana, we can put 2 and 2 together and have either a planetary and zodiacal placement or an elemental association and placement. So the page knight, king, and queen represent 2 attributes of elementals. So the kings are or queen, they could be both of the same element. Like the King of Wands is fire, and so that gives us an idea, like the Knight of Swords is air, just to give an example. So these types of representations and associations come into context and play in the greater manifestations of the physical universe, right? When we talk about the zodiacal wheel, we talk about a circle that is divided into 12 sections, and each section is 30 degrees. And during these points, sections within this wheel, there's a personality trait. There's a type of behavior, personality, association. We become associated with this type of energetic behavior in our personalities according to where each of these associations are placed. that is kind of confusing, but that's how astrology works, and that's kind of how all of these archetypes work. It isn't just personal, but it is personal, and it isn't just global, but it is global. It isn't just natural, but it is natural. It's universal, it's cosmological. It's the wheel of energy, the nufra, the chi. It's everything in the universe and how it behaves at this point in a swirling vortex. And I have been working on this for a very long time, and I've started to look at the different symbols of it, and I'll tell you that they make sense. If we could start looking at them in terms of how they were actually supposed to be viewed, we're going to break into a lot of secrets. There's a lot of things going on here that I think what it comes down to is the ability for the common consciousness to accept these things for what they are and respect them for what they are, because we don't hand kids blow torches, right? We don't just hand things to folks who aren't quite ready to use them, because that can be very, very destructive. And in some cases, that it's okay to be destructive, take it down, but we don't need to be explosive about that. This is what we're talking about here. These are the tools to disassemble and reassemble or understand how things work. So a lot of times, mostly throughout history, and just because we're humans, we're creatures of habit, and we are on this wheel, and we are subject to each of these traits. It's some aspect, in some regard. We are all part of this wheel. So it is within our nature, it is part of who we are, to repeat cycles, to repeat things that could be detrimental. How do we supersede this? How do we exceed our limits? How do we dismantle what was there? Do we even really need to, or can we just leave it as it is and step up? The number 13, death and rebirth. Okay, this is where the cycle starts to change into another aspect of the vortex. Maybe we're like climbing the loop. If you think of each loop as a circle of the wheel, and as that vortex begins to go up or down, each circle is repeated, and it lifts at that phi angle shift where it's going upward now. It isn't just a spiral. It's an extended three-dimensional form, and it has to go through each process on the wheel, each section of the wheel, before it can transcend to the next level of that circle. That's the number 13. That's the death and rebirth. That's when it happens. It's scorpionic. Okay, and it's actually shown in the scorpion symbol, the Scorpio symbol, the M with the little arrow on it, right? We're moving on to the next level, all right? And that's what this is all about. So I think that I've said enough for now. Just got a little excited. Thank you for listening, and hopefully something in this weird page will spark some great idea within you, and maybe you could share it with us, and we could all learn together and expand the common consciousness responsibly. Have a beautiful day, guys.